and yeah, so I remember the moment in this doctor's office where I realized like, oh wow, this is all on me. After feeling like helpless and hopeless and realizing this doctor's not going to help me, I just had this moment where I was like, oh wow, okay, this is all on me. And I sort of walked out of there a little bit scared, but also empowered. And I just went deep into the research to try and figure out how the hell do I solve this.
Scotty, could you tell us about your health journey and how did you discover carnivore?
Yeah, well, I guess how far do I go back? I've sort of had a lot of gut issues just really growing up. Like I was an obese kid, grew up in a family with the standard Australian diet. Health wasn't really a thing you would think about, or I feel like my parents were educated on like most average, normal, everyday parents. And yeah, so my upbringing was just a lot of ultra processed foods and crap. Um, but in the regard to carnivore, I never liked vegetables, so I knew that was the thing. I never liked vegetables; they were horrible, and I would always be forced to eat them because they were healthy. But meat was my thing even back then, intuitively. Um, so these issues on and off with my gut throughout my teenage years and that, but it really got to when I was in my early 20s. Things started to really flare up with my gut and my skin, my joints, and things like that, and mental health. But it actually, because a lot of people talk about having gut issues, but for me, there was this one night at a food carnival where I got tricked into eating a chicken wing with the three hottest chilies in the world on it. And I had that, and it was the most crazy, surreal, almost psychedelic experience, but it absolutely destroyed my gut. Like that night, I remember just not getting a wink of sleep, and it just felt like I just had some paint stripper just going through my system. And from that night onwards, things were forever changed. That was like the straw that crushed the camel, so to speak. And yeah, it led to being intolerant to all these foods I was eating just normally. All these like I developed histamine issues, and so a lot of foods I was eating was histamine, which I thought were healthy as well for me, like your avocados and your kimchi and your sauerkrauts and things like this, kombucha, and all these foods and dairy just started destroying me. And yeah, like just to overshare, the diarrhea was biblical. I had that for probably a good, oh man, probably well over a year of just this constant diarrhea, and my skin broke out into all sorts of like hives, but also I think like dermatitis. And yeah, so that was pretty much like all over my face and my body. And it just, one thing led to another. The joint pain was excruciating. And so I just went down the route of trying to heal myself through naturopaths. And I wanted to go the natural route, always have. I was quite heavily plant based before that. I always ate meat, but there was stints where I'd do like, I'd be just eating mostly plants for like, a solid week or so, and then I'd have some meat and then the same thing. So it was predominantly plant based and big salads, and I loved my kale and all these kinds of things. And I just didn't. I got worse eating these things continuously, thinking that they were going to help me. I got worse and worse and worse, and I feel like I didn't get anywhere with naturopaths. I didn't get anywhere with the doctors and specialists. I just feel like I was being bounced around, spending all this money for no answers. Basically, your typical IBS. You've just got to manage it. So sorry, um, but it didn't explain all these other problems that I was experiencing. These autoimmune issues that were just so obvious to me, um, and yeah, so I remember the moment in this doctor's office where I realized like, oh wow, this is all on me. After feeling like helpless and hopeless and realizing this doctor's not going to help me, I just had this moment where I was like, oh wow, okay, this is all on me. And I sort of walked out of there a little bit scared, but also empowered. And I just went deep into the research to try and figure out how the hell do I solve this? You know, I was a big biohacker back in the day. I was a big Ben Greenfield fan, and so I was taking like all these kinds of supplements, and they weren't helping. And I come across in 2017 this guy that we've heard of, and most of us in the community has heard of Dr. Sean Baker. And I heard him on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about this carnivore diet, and I didn't really think much of it, or that it was a means to healing for me. It was just okay. I sort of he was coming from like an athletic point of view, from what I remember, and how it's helped him. But I couldn't relate whatsoever because it's not like he was going through these dramatic health issues. And it took a while until I think it was about 2018 or maybe 2019, but 2018, I found Michaela Peterson, who I could really resonate with as she explained her story, her reactions to these foods, and I just thought, oh wow, okay, there's much more to this way of eating than I thought. And it took me a while. It took me a long while to actually do strict carnivore. I was on and off because I was a big foodie, loved, my Mexican or Italian. I loved carbs. I loved sugar. I was a big sweet tooth. Growing up with all like just an abundance of sugar and refined carbs, it was just a weakness of mine. And so I was the guy have going to the bakery every day, having a brownie or getting some gelato, and yeah, it was full on. But so it took a while for those food cravings to really settle down, and for me to actually have the discipline and focus to do this way, like have this a part of my life, and to do this way of eating. And I was only planning to do it for a month, but I did it for a month, and I was feeling great. I'm like, okay, let's do it a bit longer, see how further we can take this, because a lot of my symptoms were clearing up. And then I got to 3 months, and it was the best I've ever felt. It was the first time I had, I guess, a reference point of how good I could feel and what health was, because you can't really compare yourself to other people and how they're feeling. I just assumed everyone had a rubbish gut and didn't feel good, and brain fog and slow, and anxious and depressed, and you don't have a reference point. But when I did, like the veil was lifted. I'm like, okay, wow. The funny thing is, I celebrated by having a couple pieces of sushi, just some like avocado, rice, nori roll, no soy, no nothing, because I knew soy played up with me back then, and so it was very basic. And I had, I think, like a small can of coconut water, just plain coconut water. I think it was organic as well, and it destroyed me. Like that night, I had it that night, and then the next day, I woke up, my skin was breaking out again, and my joints were aching, and I just felt rubbish. And I was like, wow, these are foods that are considered healthy and that I thought were just fine, and how I lived a lot of my life eating these kinds of things, and drinking these things. And that was the moment where I'm like, okay, I'm definitely doing this. And then it was just sort of all on from there. And then I started talking about my experience on social media, and I started, yeah, I guess connecting with people like Sean Baker, and talking with people like Anthony Chafee and Simon Lewis at How to Carnivore, and all these people that were in this world. But you don't know these people exist until you sort of find this space. And then it was all on, man. And then yeah, we've got to here, and I've gone through a lot of different some experiments even more recently. We can get into that, but finding how, yeah, this is a way of eating, and realizing how many people are it's so simple. Like, who would have thought meat? I find the lion diet's the most healing and best for me. Meat, salt, and water. How can something so basic and simple, not adding all these supplements and stacking them and all this sort of thing, to think, yeah, more is better, how less is better, and how much strength and vitality and vigor you can get from something so basic. Like, it still blows my mind. Um, yeah, yeah. So that's how I found myself here.
That's awesome, mate. So you've gone through quite a transformation, going from the standard Australian diet, having these kind of issues, and then you're just finding simplifying it, just stripping everything away, you feel so much better. And the words you said before on carnivore, you feel disciplined and focused, and then you associated those ultra processed foods, feeling weakness, having those cravings. Like, yeah, I 100% agree. I've gone through the same,
Mm.
gone through that same journey with the standard Australian diet and just eating so much, like being addicted to sugar. That was the tough thing for me and getting off that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we get told that moderation is okay, and I think some of us can moderate, but pretty much everyone I've talked to, we just don't have the strength. And when these refined sugars and carbs sort of hijack our reward system, we're like a little puppet being led around by these cravings, and it's like, no, I feel like I want to be in control. I want to, um, yeah, I want to choose what goes into my mouth, not these cravings and I guess bad gut bacteria that just wants the crap. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild to have those two different experiences of being there and feeling that to feeling like absolutely no cravings whatsoever and realizing how much more beautiful life is like that.
Yeah, 100%. How
Mm.
long have you been on carnivore now for?
So it's been about 3.5 years now since the journey started.
Mhm.
Before that, I was doing Paul Saladino's sort of way of eating, like animal based. So before I went full just meat, I was doing the about a year before I went to carnivore. I was doing the fruit, the honey, the raw dairy, and the meat bits. I was just still finding I was having symptom flares up. Like in certain ways, I felt better, but I was still having issues pop up, and I was still getting a lot of those cravings, really. And yeah, and then so about like after that, that's when I knew I had to go strict carnivore. Um, and yeah, it's interesting. I've gone through a few experiments over, I guess, the past year. Just like, should we go? Should I go into that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So about towards the end of last year, I wanted to sort of go more into the realms of the Paleolithic ketogenic diet, which is significant amount of fat compared to protein, like a 3-to-1 ratio, sometimes even more, like ridiculous amounts of fat. Yeah, I was having that much fat on my plate. I had a friend ask, "Am I eating mashed potato now?" Because I had so much tallow piled up next to this steak I was eating. Because I just wanted to experiment with raising ketones and lowering blood glucose, and that was a method that they used with the PKD diet. And so it's basically like high fat carnivore, but I went super high fat and I was getting keto like a lot of carnivores with I see they measure their ketones and they sit around even like zero point 0.9 to 1, maybe 1.5, things like that. Sometimes more, definitely. Um, and that was me. I would sort of get down to like highest around 2. When I was doing these high fat ratios, I was getting the highest one I had was 6.4, like eating, and that was just out living life. And my body didn't like that. And it sort of took it as a stress response. And I just had this anxiety ended up developing. I'm not sure whether it was cortisol or just yeah, my body perceiving these high ketones as a stress response, it just wouldn't stop. Even though I lowered the fat, it just remained. And I feel like and this is all speculation, I didn't really get to the bottom of it, but my cortisol awakening response every morning, like I feel like the cortisol just wouldn't stop. That's what it just felt like to me. But it was this crazy anxiety, and I just felt it just felt gross, this icky feeling. And I didn't really know what to do because carnivore had been so helpful and calming for me for so long. Um, I felt like I got between a rock and a hard place, and I didn't know what to do. And after a bit of going back and forth with ChatGPT, um, I introduced having a teaspoon of honey in the morning to sort of stop that response, and it worked eventually. It eventually worked, and things seemed like it was back down, and so like my anxiety was back down, So I was fearful to remove the honey, so I started having just like a teaspoon of honey to sort of start the day, and that became like a part of the norm, or before bed. But I guess the funny thing too, I would measure my ketones in the morning, and I'd be back into ketosis. So it was good to see that metabolic flexibility with introducing glucose and then jumping back into ketosis after that was used up. Um, and so I sort of just kept it going, kept it going out of fear. This anxiety would come back, and that went on for sort of months, throughout the start of this year. And then, well, I guess I could mention too, at the start of the year, I did an extended fast. I did a 76-hour fast, and I got my bloods done not long after that, and found that it did something with my thyroid. My TSH was quite high, very surprisingly, and my sex binding hormone. What is it? SHBG? Yeah, that one. That was out of whack as well. That was really high, and so my free testosterone was quite low. Even though my total T was like reasonable, it was just all bound up with this SHBG, and so that's when I thought like, oh wow, and I was just having all these sort of moments where, oh man, carnivore's helped me so long, but like, oh wow, am I facing some of these problems that Paul Saladino faced allegedly? And I know people say it was because he was having too many organs and all sorts of things that caused him issues. But I remember him talking about his thyroid and his like hormones, his testosterone getting thrown out of whack. And I just had a moment where I was like, "Oh wow, is this happening to me? Like, surely not." Like, I sort of didn't want it to be happening like that. So, and anyway, so that's where the honey sort of continued. Um, and then, like over the past, I guess, couple months recently, I like to just to see how far the healing's come with a lot of my autoimmune issues, and so with honey just being like a normal thing in my diet again, not too much, but regardless, it was in there. Out to dinner, I'd have my beautiful big tomahawk steak, and say my partner or a friend would be had some sweet potato or something. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll have like a little spoonful and see how it goes. And so I'd do something like that, and I didn't have any reactions, and I was like, "Okay, great, fantastic." Or I would have a coffee, black coffee, sort of like every now and again, and I think the confidence built up a little bit too much, and so like the next time, and I'd never go out and buy these things. It'd just be like when we were out to dinner on the occasion, and they've got potato. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try some potato. Okay, that was too much potato. I feel like shit. Okay, good to know. Good to know that yeah, like potatoes still off the cards. Um, and yeah, then it got to a point where it got around my birthday about a month and a half ago, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to jump back on the coffee train for a week or maybe a week and a half. And so I started having a coffee every day, and then all of a sudden my skin just broke out. Dermatitis came back, and it come back quite strong, and to be reminded of like that painful raw redness, and the like pimply bumpy like things that just are all over you, and a lot of my face, and my feet and things like that, and my hands were affected, um and I was like, okay, wow, that was obviously too far, and I'm having a quite severe response to this. And here I am weeks later, and I'm still trying to heal from that. And I'm back to the lion diet of just beef, salt, and water, and realizing how good I feel on that. So that's one thing I'm glad I've had the reference check again, and to relearn of how good I feel. And so, not doing the teaspoon of honey or anything of a morning. I'm back to just fatty meat, salt, and water, and I feel incredible. I feel amazing. No anxiety, which is amazing. Because I'm not doing extremely high fat um, ratios to get the ketones up, but just how simple like this can be. And also, my skin's still healing. Like, it's taken weeks, and it's so funny to be reminded. Like a week of coffee pleasure for weeks of healing. It's just not worth it. But I think I've got mold exposure issues happening as well, and maybe some chronic inflammatory response syndrome kind of vibes happening. Um, because once upon a time when I first started carnivore, I was still drinking black coffee every now and again. There was no problems, and I feel the longer I've been here, the more sensitive I am to certain foods. But um, to see that even like coffee just comes back like super hard now, I think this house that I've been living in and actually moving out of in less than a week, um, water damage, moldy. I think it's had a drastic impact on my health and it's delayed healing for me. So it'll be interesting to get out and just see how my if my health improves and eventually, have a cup of coffee and just see how my body responds because really, even though I love this way of eating, I would like to get to a point where my body's not going to go into an autoimmune response after having something that I could have all the time. So it's been an interesting experiment over the past however many months, and it always leads me back to here of like, oh yeah, beef salt water. That's where it's at.
That's awesome. So it
Mm,
sounds like you've tried a few different things, see how your body responds, but for you, beef, salt, and water, that's where you feel your best?
100%, 100%. Like I do like to get a lot of DHA and EPA from seafood, oysters, sardines, and that. But
Mhm.
even then, because I've got like histamine issues, as I was mentioning at the start, was one of those things that were a problem for me. And I just don't feel like how I feel when I have beef salt water. Like if I have seafood, I just feel a bit funny in the belly or something like it. Same with chicken, definitely pork. These
Mhm.
different foods, eggs. I love eggs and some scrambled eggs or some sunny side up fried eggs. Amazing, cooked in butter, beautiful. But I just don't feel that good. It's just it's this feeling of where I'm eating simply beef salt water. It's just oh yeah, this is baseline. This is normal.
That's awesome.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Wanted to ask, you mentioned doing a 76-hour fast. I'm hearing a lot on social media now about the benefits of fasting and tapping into visceral fat stores and that sort of thing and the mental clarity. Could you talk about that? Did you feel any of those benefits? And how did you actually do the fast for that long?
Yeah, so I've been trying the fasting on and off for years, and I'm pretty steadily like locked into, I guess you'd call it intermittent fasting, where I'll try and wrap up and have my last meal of the day around 3, maybe 4 o'clock. Um, that's the ideal dinner time for me, and then I'll eat again the next day at like 7 o'clock. So there's a bit of space there, but that's pretty normal for me, and I don't feel it's very extreme or drastic. But doing these like extended fasts, like 24 hours, I don't feel is too bad. But I feel like that's even pushing it. 48 hours, 76 hours, that's the longest I've done.
Mhm.
Um, I do find a lot of the benefit there, like the mental clarity, and yeah, it's almost like a bit of a drug. You just get on this sort of like this trajectory of just like I don't know, you just feel so with everything. It's this very immersive with nature kind of feeling, and it's a different kind of energy that you're experiencing. But whether it's just my relationship with food, I still felt like anxious surrounding it, and my thoughts were sort of um, like just a little bit bothered by it. Even though there was areas where it felt great, um, there was areas where it didn't feel too good, and in regards to like anxiety and just feeling like a little bit, you know. Um, but I see a lot of friends do it and they say they feel amazing. When I was doing 1 meal a day, because I've just experimented with doing OMAD, like 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, but now I'm at 3 meals a day, and I feel like this is good for me. A steak in the morning, afternoon, and dinner. I feel this is good for me. When I was doing 1 meal a day, I just felt like yeah, it was a bit yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't optimal for me. I just felt like I was thinking about food too much and yeah, like I just yeah, the anxiety thing was probably the main concern from it. And then seeing what it did to my hormones, my testosterone and my thyroid, and that it was a bit of an indicator. But I also like stack a lot of I was stacking a lot of hormetic stress. So I was doing these long fasts with some like pretty extended cold exposure sessions where you jump into 3 to 5 degrees and you're in like a fasted state, and so like I think it got to a point where you can have too much of a good thing. Because I'm all for cold, and I'm all for fasting, but I think you can go too far with these. And because I'm already quite lean, and just don't have a lot of fat on me, I think my body was kind of in survival mode, and it was just freaking out a bit, being like, "Yo, we need some food, man. Like, give me some fat, give me some calories, give me something." Um, but yeah, like as I said, now that I've reached this 3 meals a day, I feel it's quite nice. I get my sort of a bit of a fast from the afternoon, evening into the morning, and yeah, that doesn't even feel like a fast to me. It's just normal. It's just normal. Um, but yeah, and like I remember I was mucking around with portion sizes because once upon a time when I first started carnivore, I think my body was um, craving the nutrients so much that I was having like 800-gram steaks. I was having a lot in one sitting, and yeah, it got to a point where my body couldn't take that anymore, and I got to a place where doing like around 300 grams for each meal has been like a pretty good sort of realm for me, and keeping that nice fatty tail on the steak there, whether it's a sirloin or treating yourself with a ribeye or whatever. I feel like that's been best for me. So not dabbling with the fasting too much. Um, yeah, but the little intermittent overnight fast, like I'm still cool with that.
Gotcha. It sounds like
Yeah.
you're in a really good place, and it sounds like you're really keyed into what your body is telling you, like listening to your body.
hmm Yeah, most definitely, and that's I think what we need to do, because I was just doing what I heard other people were doing, and it's like, yeah, OMAD, great, it's gonna be good for you. Yeah, fast, do the cold, do this, do that, and I'm like, yeah, sweet, I'll do it all. And um, the one thing though, my body was screaming out like, yeah, I'm not having a good time here, and it took me a while to listen to that, and I think this is what all this leads to, is just getting more in touch with your body and its signals that it sends you. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
So I'm just curious, you've had these conditions, these autoimmune issues and IBS and skin rashes, etc. When you simplified your diet and just went beef, salt, and water, how long did you notice a change?
It did take a little bit of time. I about after yeah, around after a month, I noticed to see things, but I feel it had to be a good solid 3 months to see the full effects. And I see a lot of people try the carnivore diet, and because it is quite drastic and can be quite hard, they'll do it for a week or two, and they say, I didn't feel any benefit, because they're still adjusting. Oh, I just got diarrhea from carnivore diet, and it's like, well, yeah, your gut microbiome, the bile salts, things that need to adjust. Your body needs to adjust to using fat for fuel. And I remember I couldn't even digest fat. I had to have lipase enzymes because my body couldn't even, um, digest fat properly. And now fat's my biggest source of food intake. But yeah, I feel you've really got to give it some time and have patience with it. And 3 months, I feel, is a good solid indicator if you're looking to see what benefits something like this can do for you. And like if you can tolerate other foods and that's fantastic. I'm all for that. But you can't bullshit yourself. You really have to be honest with yourself of how you feel. Like as I said, I love eggs, but I just don't feel the best on eggs, and that's just honesty. Even though I wish I could eat eggs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and same as coffee, I wish I love coffee so much and I wish I could tolerate it, but it's like when you start wearing it on your face and there's no there's no ifs or buts. It's You're just gonna be honest with yourself, and I think that's the biggest thing. So give yourself the time, give yourself that space, just because the body can take some time, and if you've been sick for years and you're expecting carnivore to heal you in a week, like I thought, yeah, a week of carnivore, everything's gonna be hunky dory. And it's like, no, you've how long do you reckon it's gonna take to heal if you've been sick for years? It's the body's a miraculous thing, but you've got to give it time and space. And I think we can just get a bit impatient with that. So yeah, I just suggest just giving it some time, and 3 months I think is a good minimum.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really good point, and I hear all the time. So I'm sort of in the fitness space as well, and I hear this all the time. Oh, I need to lose weight. I need to fix my diet, but people don't give it enough time to actually see the results. We're very very impatient as a society.
Mm. Yeah, we want everything now. We've got social media, we've got drive through, we've got Netflix, we've got everything at the click of our fingers. And nature doesn't work like that. It takes time for a tree to grow. It takes time for our bodies to heal. And I think it's good to be reminded of that, and how patience is such a virtue, and that can teach us, and in the same way, this health journey I've been on has been the most incredible teacher, and I'm so thankful for it, and yeah, yeah, it brings us back to reality rather than the society and how we've been taught and what our culture teaches us. Everything right now, let's go. It's a bit of a reality check. It's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And that reminds me of something I've noticed on your videos on Instagram, and you kind of as you first go into the supermarket, like immediately it's like it's Krispy Kreme donuts and there's Oreos, and it's like we're just bombarded by this kind of marketing for ultra processed foods to keep us addicted. Like it's really hard to make a change, like make a healthy choice now.
Oh, it's absolutely ridiculous, and
Mm,
it's amazing. It's beautiful strategies. These point of sale displays that are strategically placed at perfect, precise points in the supermarket for where your eyes go when you walk in, and it's like everything's sort of used against us, which is it's a brilliant business model. It's absolutely fantastic because it works, and to hijack our reward system and dopamine with colors and mascots for kids on cereal boxes, and yeah, textures and hyper palatable foods where you won't get that crunch and texture with the salt and fat and sugar. Like, you just won't get that anywhere else in nature. So it just, we crave that stuff,
mm.
and unfortunately that's the norm. That is the norm. You go to the supermarket, and like you said, it's everywhere. It's made for that. um and even the fruits and vegetables on the outsides, and the meat in the fridges on the outside of the aisles. Man, like we talk about things like Bovea and things like that that they were using in the meat, and it's like, I just, for me, and it's not an option for everyone, but I just like see the supermarket as so risky. You just have no idea what the hell you're getting, and you're buying your fruit and vegetables that appear to be organic, and then you get them tested and the glyphosate's all over them, or, apeel from one of Gates' Back's
Mhm.
organizations is, so it doesn't decay. And, we just don't know what to trust. And this is apparently healthy food, let alone all the ultra processed crap that is in the supermarket aisles. It's like, it feels like we we don't stand a chance against some of these big food corporations that sort of just have us by the balls. But you know, you get into this world and you start to befriend regenerative farmers, and you befriend people that are growing their own. Like, you go to farmers markets, and it's not a perfect apple or a perfect potato. They're all weird looking and a little bit, spots on them and things like that, because it's real. They don't look like what you get from the supermarket. And then you step into this world and you realize, oh, there are other sources of food here that we can have. But I know not everybody has access to that. Um, but I think it's just so important to sort of see there's more out there than a Woolies or a Coles or an Aldi. And yeah, no judgment if you shop there. That's you've got to do what you got to do. If you've got a family and you've got a budget, like it's so understandable. It's such a hard thing, but it is good to know there are people out there that are doing it the right way and doing the right thing and providing this beautiful service and nutritious and clean food for us. Um, so yeah, at the end of all that, fuck Woolies, really, really.
And even at the supermarket now, they've got that health food section. Like they've got the protein bars and supplement stuff. Like there's nothing actually healthy in the health food section, which I find hilarious.
It's great, isn't it? Like, yeah, I did a video one time where I was on a mission to find health food in the health food aisle, and so I just went and got multiple products and lifted and looked at the back, and I'm like, oh my god, there's 50 grams of sugar in this bar. Oh my god, there's seed oils. Oh, more seed oils, more seed oils. Look at all these emulsifiers and preservatives and artificial colors, and um, yeah, it is ridiculous because marketing is brilliant and it works. So your Violet Crumble protein bar, people are going to think that's healthy
Mm,
because it's got 17.8 grams of protein, and that's what people are going to focus on. What the label is telling you. Because if it's like gluten free or dairy free or whatever free,
mm,
it just sort of, I don't know, it tricks us into believing that we are getting something that's better because you're not in the chocolate aisle getting the real Snickers or the real Mars bar or whatever, but you're getting a protein powder that is Mars bar flavored, and there's really not much difference other than what the labels telling you, what the lies are that we've been fed by the packaging.
yeah, absolutely. And I tell people now, anything on the front of a packet, that's just pure marketing. You've really got to turn it over and read the fine print. Like, I know it takes time. I know everyone's busy, but like, if you value your health, you've just got to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, and it's great that there's apps out there now. I can't recall, was it the Yuka app or something like that? There's a few apps
Yeah.
out
Stuff like
there.
that.
Yeah, there's a few apps out there where you can just scan the barcode or scan the product, and it will tell you like a lot of the nasties that's in it. So it is a pretty cool time to be sort of in this space and to see like progress and yeah, restaurants getting rid of their canola oil and taking on tallow to do
Mm,
their French fries and things like that. And um, the more noise that is made and the more that people talk about this, the more change is going to happen because these big food companies and corporations and restaurants, they want to sell their products. So whatever the consumer is demanding, they're going to provide. And so I think you know fries taste a lot better in tallow, I assume, than bloody vegetable oil that's been sitting in there for a week.
mm,
And so everyone wins, really, and even if you don't want to understand the refining process of how you get canola oil, that's fine. But if it's going to taste better, hurrah! You win. You don't need to know anything about it. So yeah, I think it's cool that a lot of places are making these changes and providing this information like these foods at the supermarket. How easy is that? Scan a barcode and it's like, oh yeah, here's all the things you should be worried about. It's like, oh great, don't have to do much thinking there, or I don't have to understand what this particular number on this. You look at it, it looks like a maths equation sometimes on the back of a product. You're like, what even is that? And you Google the number, like I don't know, 205 or something, and you're like, oh wow, okay, so that is linked to cancer in mice. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I want to be putting that in my body. It's yeah, so it's cool to see like progress and movement happening in that area.
yeah, absolutely. You mentioned before you're having 3 meals a day and it's mostly just steak. That might sound a bit bizarre to the average person. Do you have any kind of tips or strategies for people and how they can stay on track with carnivore?
Yeah, it's so hard to start because there is judgment from others and there is comments and criticisms and like you feel like a weirdo, or you go out to dinner And like for me, I bring my own. If I'm going out for lunch with someone and I know there's no food there for me, I bring my chopped up steak in a glass container and I sit at that cafe or restaurant and I'll eat that steak there with them. And 9 times out of 10, the establishment doesn't care. Like, there's no issues. Like, I got kicked out of the Brunswick Head pub one time because I brought in a steak container, and the lady's like, "You can't be eating that in here," and she ended up throwing me out because I was eating steak in their establishment. But I was like, I knew their steak, or I had an idea of their steak was cooked in seed oil. So I'm like, no, I'm not mucking around with that. Thank you, though. So, but 9 times out of 10, you like people don't care. You can just sort of do it, and it's fine. And most of your friends and family, like man, they get used to it, or they don't really care as much as you think either. Um, but a big issue that I see a lot of people talking about is the cost, the price, and how expensive it is eating carnivore. But it's not like I'm eating a ribeye 3 times a day. It's not like I'm eating a tomahawk 3 times a day. A lot of the time, like I just had chuck steak for breakfast. I had a bit of liver and chuck steak, and man, that was beautiful, and, I just fry that bad boy up on the pan. I don't even slow cook it, and it's not even that bad. So I think, ground beef mince and chuck steak, or just, yeah, your lower budget sort of steaks, they're just as good, they're just as nutritious. Slow cook it if you want to make it as tasty as you want, but it's really, not that bad, and it is quite affordable when you're paying 20 bucks a kilo for chuck steak or mince. It's fine. It's still grass fed and it's got all the amazing nutrients in it. It's fine. But so there's ways around the cost as well. And and yeah, and if you can just get used to being the guy or whoever that brings you meat to the party, and you know people get curious as well. And I started to see it as it's a bit of it's a bit of an insight for other people, because they can ask like, "Oh, what's this? Why do you do that? Or how come you're not eating here?" And then you start to share the story, and then and end up finding like spots where you can relate, and like, "Oh, actually, I do have some gut issues," or like, "Yeah, my skin does play up when I do this," and you can sort of put some breadcrumbs out for people, or some steak crumbs, so to speak, out for people, and they really some people are really very receptive, and I know people that who were worried I was gonna get, like, colon cancer from eating too much steak at the start, asking me what cut of steak should I get to do this carnivore thing? So it's nice. You can just sort of lead by example, and if you can, get a hold of the weirdness of it, or it's just the abnormality of it, or the insecurities you have around how it might look to other people. Yeah, once you can get past that, it's actually quite freeing. I love bringing my steak and to wherever I go. Like whenever I leave the house, I'm guaranteed to have one or two glass containers of steak in the car with me, because you just never know. You never know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's definitely a conversation starter being carnivore.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's amazing.
I've even had people at work once they're kind of worried about what I was doing. It's like, "Gee, you're eating a lot of eggs. What about your cholesterol?" And I'd sort of say, "Well, you need cholesterol for your testosterone. Like every cell in your body makes cholesterol. It's essential." And they go a bit quiet. But now I've found they're actually asking me for fat loss advice and what I should be eating. So I find that quite funny.
Yeah, isn't it interesting, when people see you're eating mostly fat, but you're losing fat, they're like, "Wait a
Mm.
second, I thought fat made you fat." That's why we're eating low fat foods, right? Low fat is the health jazz word, and yeah, it's so funny, and like you said, it's good to be able to learn these things, say like about cholesterol, and um be able to recite that to people, and actually give them evidence, and actually explain some of the mechanisms, um, because we don't get told this stuff. We don't get taught that yeah, cholesterol is essential, and that your body makes most of the cholesterol that's in your body, and we need more cholesterol, which is why we need to eat fats, we don't make enough of it, so we need dietary cholesterol. And yeah, you say that to people and they're like, what the hell? I thought you just had to get rid of cholesterol full stop. And yeah, it's just interesting, man. And it's like with the foods that we get told are healthy. It's the food pyramid, things like this. What we've been told is healthy and what we've been told is unhealthy, like red meat and saturated fat. It's it's interesting to go down these rabbit holes and realize, like, oh, there's always been an agenda
Mm.
behind it, and there's always money to be made behind it. And yeah, you might look like a conspiracy nut to some people, but that's fine as well. You just got to accept it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I kind of wear it as a badge of honor now. I don't mind being different because, of how good I feel and how much energy I have. Like, it's all worth it in the end.
And do you find for you that it was almost like a bit of a spiritual development, that you could actually stand stronger in your own 2 feet and be more sure of yourself and be more confident, and to not worry what other people think? Because that's something that can plague a lot of us, like including myself. And to let go of these things, I feel like carnivore has all its physical benefits, but I feel like there's a massive spiritual element and benefit that doesn't get talked about as much. That all the weirdness, or how you look so weird doing it, it makes you stronger. It makes you more sort of just sure of yourself, no matter what people say. I think that is a huge benefit, and that's got a lot of value in it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always been very kind of shy, anxious kind of personality, but I think since being on carnivore, I feel much more confident in myself. I'm more comfortable being assertive with people, like not being aggressive, not being passive, in between, being assertive. I think
Mm,
that's been really helpful. And I think
okay.
we've got this idea that, like I'm 37 years old, and once you're in your 30s, like you get these aches and pains, everything starts hurting, you're kind of on that slow decline towards getting older. Like, I don't think it has to be that way because I
No.
feel I've got much more energy and strength than I did when I was in my 20s, which is might sound a bit strange to people.
No, it's 100%, man. I totally agree with that. I turned 35 a couple months ago, and yeah, it's the same thing. People, I remember when I was 20, I'm like, oh, 35, that's one foot in the grave. Like you're pretty much done, bro.
Yeah,
This is the strongest, most capable I've ever been in my life. Like I'm way more healthier and capable than I was when I was like 21, 22. So that's amazing to see, that when you're eating a diet that's appropriate for your species, that health span is a thing. It's like, sure, we're going to age and life happens, but you can grow healthily. I just don't think it's normal where you see older people getting dementia and osteoarthritis and all these sorts of issues, and we just give it that sort of pass and say that's normal. That's what happens when you get older. I don't think it has to work like that. And I think a great example is the rancher Maggie, who has been on a few people's podcasts, and I know Dr. Chafee's sort of showed her off to the world. And yeah, she's what, in her 80s, and she looks absolutely incredible. And she's eaten like a meat prioritized diet for, I don't know, something ridiculous. A lot of decades. Um, and so it's cool to see, like, yeah, you can be quite physical and active and healthy and mentally there into your 80s, 90s, and so on.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about what you're eating. Like, I can't think of any modern illness that it's not caused in some way by your diet. It's just eating a species appropriate diet.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And how your body responds to that. And, these symptoms that we get is a response to the incorrect food we're putting into it. And, you can get into light environment as well, the artificial lights at nights, not getting full spectrum sunlight, not enough sun, because that's another thing we've been told to be afraid of, and that. And so all these different pieces of the puzzle that adds up to get disease, and yeah, it's just amazing that we've been told that we've got to be afraid of these things. Don't eat your steak, don't get the sun, just stay inside, put sunscreen on, and eat my Violet Crumble protein bar. It's on sale, 3.99. Yeah. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
ridiculous, ridiculous, man. But yeah, again, it's great that we can be, having these kinds of conversations, and it's just happening more and more and more. And I'm so thankful that I've learned all this from people out there pioneering in these fields. um, and yeah, and then I can pass that on to other people as well. So the truth eventually gets out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to go to YouTube University and Google University to get the answers these days.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And there's like that meme where your doctor's like, "Oh, how dare you be looking up Google on Google about your symptoms and all that?" And it's like, yeah, yeah, it's interesting people that want to gatekeep your health rather than you dig. And of course, you're going to make mistakes and whatnot, but that's a part of the process. But for someone to not encourage that is yeah, it's a little bit funny to me.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
Scotty, if people want to reach out to you, where's the best place to find you?
Scotty Brizzle over all platforms, man. I'm mostly on Instagram. That's like my main channel, but Scotty Brizzle on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube. I'm on X as well, formerly known as Twitter. But yeah, man, Instagram's probably like my main go-to.
And I was curious, the videos you do in the supermarket, like they're awesome. They're so educational. How do you do them? Do people ever like the staff catch you doing that, or how do you do that?
Yeah, it's one of those things because I've been a performer like most of my life. I've done stand-up comedy a lot of my life and acting and stuff like that. So I'm a bit of a performer. I love to get behind the camera. But doing it in front of strangers is always hard. It's never easy. And I do have a bit of an etiquette around that. And I'll try not to say if I'm here shitting on soy milk, I'm not going to really talk about that when someone's buying their soy milk. I just think you do what you want to do. If you come
Mm.
across my video online, that's great, but I don't want to say you can't be buying that. So I usually wait until there's nobody around me to start filming. Um, but it's not always like that. I have filmed in busy supermarkets before, and yeah, people just stare at you walking by, or they catch you out front of the store, and they're like, "What were you doing in there?" And then I usually gotta, just come up with some like explanation of like, "Oh yeah, I'm just trying to take a journalistic approach against the food that's in supermarkets and da 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 da." But there was one time, surprisingly, only one time, where I was filming, and it wasn't even like bagging on anything. I was just talking about the benefits of grass-fed butter. And I I was filming, and there was this lady at Coles, and she was sort of halfway up the aisle, but she caught me like, you know, with the phone in my face like this talking. And I try and make it look like sometimes that I'm maybe just on FaceTime or something, that I'm not here talking to myself. Well, that's what I hope someone perceives. And so she yells out, "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" And I just keep talking into the phone. And and then she ends up walking up to me, and she says the same thing. She's like, "What do you think you're doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just making a video on the benefits of grass-fed butter." And she says, "Do you have permission to be filming here?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, it's a public store, and I'm just filming myself." And she's like, "Yeah, you're not allowed to film products." And I'm like, "I'm not filming products. I'm filming myself. I can show you the video if you'd like." And she's like, "Nah, nah, this isn't on." And then she just walks off, and I'm like, "Oh wow, here we go." So I just kept filming and like finishing up the video. I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna get kicked out soon."
Mm.
And then left a stage, this big fella walks in around the aisle with her, and I'm there filming, and he comes up and he's like, "Mate, there's no filming fixtures or products in the store." And I'm like, "Oh no, no, I'm not, man. I'm just filming a video about the benefits of grass fed butter. Here's the video." And I pulled up some of the clips that I was filming. And he's like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Here, check out my Instagram." And I went to my Instagram and I started showing him like just how it looks after you edit the video and you splice it all
Mm,
together. And yeah, he's there and he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. So this is just what I do, man. This is my little thing that I like to do and talk about. And he's like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. And I'm like, yeah, Scotty Brizzle, if you want to follow me on Instagram. And he's like, all right, I will do. And then this older lady at the end of the aisle, she's like watching the interaction between me and like I assume boss man, the manager, and she realized like he allowed me to finish filming the video, and she was just so upset, and so huffy with me, and I was like, all right, I'm all good now. I got the footage. See you, love. She was so upset. But that's the only time I've ever had a moment because I feel like I'm quite careful. You know, I try not to bother people in the supermarket. Even though I feel like it would probably be great content, but yeah, I just try and keep things nice and spacious, and I don't want to sort of breathe down the throats or tread on anyone's toes. And so yeah, man, it's actually pretty chilled. But I for a place that I don't like, bombarded by artificial foods, ultra processed foods, and isolated blue light, I surely go there a lot, you
mm.
know? And it's like, man, I think I've been thinking like, man, I need to change this game up. Like I need to do more outside videos or something, you know? Because it's you can feel it. As soon as you walk in there and you feel that light beaming down on you, and you know, I'm picking up all these different foods that are causing issues, and I'm just talking about the issues that it causes. I'm like, oh man, this gets a bit heavy sometimes. You know, I need to change up my approach and get outside and you know talk about some beautiful things sometimes as well. Because yeah, like yeah, and I do want to sort of just show the truth and the reality of the situation and what is considered normal to people, but it definitely can you know take its toll as well. Hey, but that's the job of a supermarket terrorist, as some would say. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, mate, you're fighting the good fight. Like, just keep doing what you're doing.
thanks, bro. I appreciate that, man. And you're doing the exact same thing, dude. You're putting the word out there, and these podcasts that you're doing, I see you got some great people on there sharing their stories. So, man, kudos to you, dude. And same, like, yeah, let's keep on this front line here, man. Charging forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time today, Scotty. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, Todd. Thank you. And yeah, man, I hope we can have another chat again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to have you back on. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. All right, man. Let's go eat a steak.
Exactly. Cool.
Uh,
Thanks.
thanks, bro.